On December 15th, 1836, a fire destroyed the U.S. Patent Office and approximately 10,000 patent documents dating from 1790 to 1836. Today, on Fiery Tales, we discuss that fire, what caused it, the fire department response, and lessons learned. In 1836, the United States Patent Office was located in the Blodgett, Blodgett Hotel in Washington, D.C. This three-story wood-frame building was constructed on 8th Street in what is today Penn Quarter. The building was built around 1793 by Samuel Blodgett, a merchant involved in the East India trade. He constructed this building as part of an elaborate plan to raise money for the construction of new public buildings in Washington by raffling off this new hotel. The raffle ended up failing, and Blodgett lost the building and his fortune. In 1810, the United States Post Office and Patent Office moved into the building. The majority of the building was occupied by the General Post Office and D.C.'s City Post Office. The Patent Office occupied the second and third floors of the eastern part of the building and the attic of the entire structure. Responsible for recording and preserving patent applications for invention and other items, the Patent Office housed over 10,000 patents and thousands of models of inventions dating from 1790 through 1836. This 1836 fire that would destroy the building began in the cellar of the hotel structure. This large, open area had a dirt floor and was partially open to the elements. Both the post office and patent office used the cellar to store firewood. 3 large piles of wood, purportedly from floor to ceiling, were stored here. It was also where the post office and patent office employees stored ashes from their fires. 2 piles of ashes were known to exist, one on the ground and one kept by the patent office in a wooden box in their fuel room. On the morning of December 15th, 1836, 3 employees of the city post office were sorting mail in the building until 2:30 a.m. After delivering this mail for shipment, they each went to sleep in different offices in the building. Around 3 a.m., one of them, Samuel Crown, awoke to smoke in the building. He checked the area and found no fires in his fireplace, and then alerted other employees. They eventually found smoke coming from the cellar on the southeast corner of the building, under where the patent office was located. These employees then proceeded to alert the neighborhood and employees of the post office and patent office to the threat of the fire. An employee of the patent office, Henry Bishop, lived next door and was awoken by the noise. He ran to the building and attempted to enter the office, but found that the door was blocked. He then attempted to enter it through the post office, but could not due to the smoke conditions. Eventually, all the employees of the patent office arrived, but were still unable to access their portion of the structure, either through the doors, which they found to be blocked, or through the windows due to a lack of a ladder. Meanwhile, the employees of the post office were on location and were able to salvage all of the general post office records from that building. Response to this fire was very poor. A fire station had been constructed next to the patent office in 1820. That year, Congress ordered the engine house to be constructed and a slate roof to be put on the building to increase fire protection. They hoped this would allow for a quick response to the building in case of fire. The engine house contained a single engine and sections of riveted leather hose. A company of volunteer firefighters was formed to staff the station, but the company had disbanded not long after its formation, and the equipment had not been maintained. The reason for the disbandment is not really clear, is either from a lack of activity in terms of incidents that they responded to, or some disgruntlement as part of the members and what was going on with the organization. But nevertheless, it didn't survive very long after the construction of the engine house. But we do know that the equipment and the engine house were still located immediately beside the patent office when the fire occurs in 1836. Now, after a considerable delay during the fire, those on the scene made an attempt to access this engine house and attempt to extinguish the fire. However, when they opened the doors and removed the engine, they found that the hose had disintegrated. A leather hose required a lot of maintenance, and considering the fact the company had disbanded, as the volunteers knew at the time, the hose was basically useless. A bucket brigade was then formed, but by that time the fire had progressed beyond the capabilities of a bucket brigade extinguishing it. A local druggist named John C. Callan, C-A-L-L-A-N, traveled to 14th Street, the next closest location of an engine house. He brought the hand engine from there to the scene of the fire with some difficulty. By the time they arrived, the fire was reportedly coming out of the first floor windows. This engine and the volunteers on the scene went to work, but there was only a limited water supply, and this was quickly exhausted. Basically, by the time they arrived, the fire had progressed beyond what the local fire department and water system could extinguish. Ultimately, the building and all the records of the patent office were completely destroyed. The next day, children were found playing in the rubble with gears and metal pieces from the patent invention models. Congress immediately worked to investigate the fire. This was because there was suspicion that employees of the post office had burned the building to destroy records and cover up a fraud investigation. However, eventually they determined that ashes containing embers had been placed in the basement and caused the fire. It was never determined which office these embers originated from. Eventually, the Patent Office was able to recover 2,845 of the original patents from copies kept by submitters or in local courthouses. However, the remaining have been lost forever. Important lessons learned from this fire included the need for properly maintained fire equipment, trained and active firefighters, an active water source, and the need to maintain copies of documents in different locations to prevent their destruction. I would like to thank the website findtools.com, Wikipedia, the Patent Office, and the National Archives for providing the information I used to craft this story. The image used in this video is a sketch of the burned out Blogetz Hotel created by William T. Steiger for the congressional investigation. It was obtained from the findtools.com website. As always, be sure to leave your feedback or any questions